Philip Duffy, Caleb Johnson, and Liz Smith. So thank all of them very, very much for the work that they've put in this year so far. Before I go any further, I just want to make sure that we always quality questions that seriously we are great. We all do fantastic job. Now, the thing is too, they don't complain. That is wonderful. We love that. So, first of all, the establishment purpose of the institute. So, originally, Mark, this that this committee was established through a bylaw change called a resource of the association, make recommendations, criteria. So, we typically host two programs in May one, and then in July we'll host the we objectives for today, provide you with a quickly including our business, the structure of the board, committee, okay, and the role of the decision-making process. So, sharing of insights and perspectives from the board through the nomination. Our vision and mission. Our vision is think of real growth in the board, real estate, and our mission is to provide knowledge, guidance, and resources for others, promote diversity and growth within our region, encourage professionalism, and protect housing company. We're going to see what founded in 1877 and 25 today we have 8,000 plus members. The next point that we have, basically, our mission is our North Star, if you will. Our strategic plan outlines how we get where we want to go. Our activities are governed we call those our five pillars. Specialism, engagement, inclusion, Realmore Housing System Fund, which is RHF, Salem Realtor Political Action Committee, St. Louis Commercial Data System, the board of directors consists of the following members: president, treasurer, and immediate past president. And along with that, there are 12 elected directors. There is actually one appointed. There is the commercial division president, is also a chairperson of the affiliate council, Bill, and Bill the elected officers for the president-elect, treasurer, executive committee consists of the following: president-elect, treasurer, secretary, who is actually appointed for this year is Caleb Johnson. you, and I would get looking at it, okay, the role of the board of directors. We're going to turn this over to Dan Sale. He's going to go through that with you. So, thank you, Scott. I'm Dan Sale. Welcome to those of you that we will distribute the PowerPoint and also recording these programs that we we are all about work with this Catholic. And they perform a very but I think we give you first of all, their authority is corporation so within the limits of our and our responsible. The board of directors is responsible for the overall control and affair of the operation of the association, subject to any restrictions that are outlined in the bylaws. Some of the functions of the board of directors are more, finite in terms of what they're required to do, such as select the financial institution that we have our funds parked at, if you will, review of financial statements to make sure that we're following our stated principles and guidelines. They're responsible for employing the CEO. The board of directors ultimately contracts with our independent accounting firm, which is Rubin Brown. The board of directors contracts with our outside legal counsel, which is Lewis Rice. Apollo Carey is the individual that represents us directly. Review and approve the budget that's prepared each year. Review the annual audit report. Report regularly to the membership on the actions of the board of directors. A lot of time is spent in the board of directors meeting, reviewing and acting on committee requests, committee action items. With over 20 committees in the organization, there's a lot of output from those groups, and it's important that the board stay on top of that. Well, I don't expect you to be an authoritarian. As a director, you do have a responsibility to be somewhat familiar with the bylaws of the organization, with our policies and procedures, especially those that are most prominent. Be familiar with the legislative activity of the organization. Advocacy is probably one of the biggest membership benefits we offer, so it's important to kind of stay somewhat plugged in with advocacy, what we're doing on the local level, what we're doing in Jefferson City, what we're doing in Washington, D.C. The board of directors actually approves all of our policies, and in a moment we'll show you a slide that illustrates the
the depth and the breadth of our organization as it relates to the policies that we adhere to. We also have to be compliant with NAR bylaws and the NAR organizational standards. While it's my job as the CEO to make sure that we do those things, ultimately that kind of falls on the board of directors, if you will. Another important role of the board of directors is they review decisions of hearing panels, and they ratify those decisions. If there is an appeal, we pull together a panel of the board of directors to consider that appeal. This one I consider to be one of the most important roles of the board of directors. That is to solicit member input. You are out there among the members daily, and you know, it's important that we understand where the members are at on important issues of the day, and there's no better way than to have members of the board of directors act as ambassadors to bring that information back. And most importantly, as a director, the importance of placing the welfare of the entire membership over and above that of my own personal needs or benefits. You know, I may come from an independent firm, or I may come from a franchise firm. You know, I may specialize in one area or another when it comes to my practice, but at the end of the day, I'm here for the benefit of the whole membership. Another real important role of a director is to express your viewpoints and share your opinions at board meetings. You know, I've been doing this long enough. I hate to share how many years because I'll age myself, but you know, early in my career, I was almost kind of dreaded controversy at directors meetings. But it didn't take long before I realized that that's a good thing, especially issues that are controversial. The more discussion and input we have from diverse points of view, the better the decision is, and the more widely accepted the decision is. So I would love a board of directors that is fully engaged, where everyone is sharing their opinion, whether it's the commonly held opinion of the group or not. Oftentimes it's that outlier opinion that really makes the difference on certain issues. So it's important to also be engaged and volunteer for committees at the association. We tap on the shoulder, oftentimes directors, to serve as committee liaisons. So that's kind of a feedback loop, if you will, for directors to engage with certain committees and bring that information back directly. Oftentimes the committee chair is not on the board of directors, so that's important. You don't have to be a parliamentarian, but you do have to have a general understanding of Robert's Rules of Order. And we do have some training aids with that. Each year we do spend some time with our new directors on that. Above all, review materials ahead of the meeting. If you're just looking at the board packet right before the meeting starts, you're probably not fulfilling your fiduciary duties. We do look to our directors to attend board functions. There's one this evening, our biggest RPAC fundraising event of the year. I hope we have 100% participation at that event from our board of directors. Speaking of RPAC, as a board of director, you know, it's your responsibility to kind of set an example, and we encourage all of our directors to invest in RPAC. That's very important. And we talked about all of the policies and procedures that the association has. We won't we won't discuss these individually. And you're not, as a director, you're not expected to know these inside and out, but as a director, ultimately, it's your role to approve these. So from time to time, we will come to boards of directors and ask for amendments to certain policies or procedures. Those that are most commonly relied on are the bylaws, the general statement of policy, the statement of policy on committees and other groups, things of those nature. But they help guide our operations. And on the screen before you now, you see a organizational chart, and really the only thing I'll say about this is it's the board of directors' job to kind of set the tone for the overall vision of the organization. And it's the CEO's job, along with the staff, to kind of help carry out that vision. And we have currently 19 staff members that report to the CEO. The CEO reports to the president and the board of directors. Speaking of member involvement, I do want to highlight the fact that committee volunteer timeline opens up July 1st. So be on the watch for an email leading up to July 1st announcing the committee sign-up process that will last the entire month of July. And then ultimately it's sometime around October that appointment letters are sent out for committee sign-up. And with that, I think next up, we have a panel of distinguished members, and our president, immediate past president, Scott Haggerty, is going to return, and he is going to have some discussion with our panel members.
Thank you, Dan. All righty. We have a very distinguished panel today, and I'm going to start off with introducing everybody. So we have Tara Buchanan as a director. We have Marcellus Dovey as a past director. Kayla Johnson, who is our current secretary. And we have Mark Levinson, who is our past president as well. So Mark, you were president what year? 2018. Fantastic. So I'm going to ask a series of questions, and what we're going to do, we're just going to pass the microphone down. You would think that we would have 2 or 3 microphones in here, but we have other classes going on, which the really cool thing about the building, we use this building, okay? And it is set up very, very well. So we have the other microphones in the other room. So it's not like we can't afford it, but we have one. So we're just going to pass it down, okay? So, and actually, we're going to ask, we're kind of ask the directors maybe pitch in $25 a piece. Maybe we get another one. I don't know. Okay, so Mark, we'll start off with you, and we're just going to go right down the line. How did you get involved first with the association? First of all, thanks for coming.
Again, here we try it again. Thank you for being here. Your attendance is so important for the longevity of our association. What's important to understand is that St. Louis Realtors is the largest trade association in all of St. Louis. And being a member of the board of directors is a big, big deal. Serving on a committee for the association is a big, big deal. So again, thank you. You are really appreciated. Those in the room, those on Zoom. The question was, how did you first get involved in the association? Like most people, I was asked. I attended a function. I don't remember if it was a holiday party or what it was. And one of the staff people, a department that's actually no longer in existence at the time, it was called the Public Relations Department, said, Mark, would you please apply for the Public Relations Committee? And it was the first time I ever really decided that I had a target on my back, and had a difficult time saying no. And I said, sure. And I did. And this was 20 some odd years ago. And that developed into another committee and another committee and another committee. And lo and behold, and this certainly is not necessarily for everybody, but I became president of the association, and it is a really proud moment in my real estate career.
Thank you, Mark. Kayla?
So how did I first get involved? It was 2019 and YPN was hosting a 30 under 30 panelist event, and Karen Dunn, shout out to Karen. At the end of it, she goes, "Well, we're going to take some reviews. We want to hear what you think about the event today." She's like, "So come upstairs real quick. We're just going to ask you a few questions. It's going to be fine." I was like, "It's going to be fine." Okay. I was like, "Okay, my first event ever. I don't know Karen." She said, "Come upstairs." I'm like, "Am I in trouble?" And I'm sitting there and I get interviewed about what I thought of the event. And one of the questions was like, "Would you like to get involved? Would you ever join YPN?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm young. I got this. This is fine." And lo and behold, here we are all these years later because Karen told me to go upstairs. And I haven't looked back since. So thanks.
Thank you. Marcellus?
So what first got me involved with the association was a Rebuild Together St. Louis event. I was at a house and was working with a bunch of realtors and a bunch of different brokerages, and we got to talking about community engagement. And I joined community engagement the following year, and I served on community engagement for, it seems like, an eternity. Seems like ever since I've been a realtor, I've been on that committee. And from there, I just joined other committees and became, had actually our current president encouraged me to take it a step further. And I got on the board, and now I'm here talking to you guys about coming to the board. So yeah.
Thank you. Tyra?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you guys again for being here. I am Tyra Buchanan. I have been a licensed realtor since 2017. Became active in 2018 in January. And as a new hungry agent, I was just really excited that I had finally accomplished a long-term goal of mine. So I would sit in a cubicle recruiting for jobs, dreaming of selling these $1 million homes. So now I would post them online, and I was invited to a young professional advisory board to attend and was selected to be a part of their board. And from there, I built relationships with others who were outside of my brokerage. And I began to get involved with the association, community engagement, attended the Missouri Realtors event in Jeff City, and built again additional relationships with like Tina, who's our current president. And from there my career kind of evolved beyond just a sales representative with my local brokerage. I began to get more involved with my personal and professional development with the association, and my passion grew to just help others and just learn how to become a better agent. So here I am today. Thank you.
Very good. So hold on to the microphone. We're going to start with you. But interesting thing, if you notice, all of them said they were asked to do something, and they took that step. Let me ask you a real quick question, not even on our agenda for today, but how many are Missouri directors or have been Missouri directors? All four of you. Okay, so was it easier to go and become a member of the Missouri directors because you've already done something here? I mean, how hard, and were you asked to do that? Just show of hands. Were you asked to be a Missouri director?
I believe so. I mean, when I attended the Missouri Realtors Party, I was partnered with Kimberly Cameron as my mentor. And if you're with Kimberly, she's going to make sure you're involved and you know what, to do. So, and she definitely encouraged me to, no, I was told I'm going to be a Missouri director. There was no questions asked, but I wanted to.
Very good. The nice part about that is we've all been voluntold to do a few things in our life. Yeah. Okay. Next question, and Tyra, we'll start with you. What piece of advice would you offer someone who is considering getting involved either in a leadership role or simply serving on a committee?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Well, one of the pieces of advice that I would, recommend is your time management. Especially if you have children or, another job, time management is definitely a big commitment when you're volunteering at the association because you do have to, it's volunteer. So you have to make sure you have that time set aside for your commitment. Be open to learning and collaborating, with others. Be proactive is another a piece of advice with getting involved, where everyone won't have to ask you to do something, you're like proactively volunteering to get involved and be committed. Talk to past members as well as past presidents, get advice, on their involvement as well. Choose a committee that aligns with your passion, with your goals and your interests and your professional goals. And then take initiative, with projects and just build relationships. I think that's really key, whether you're in real estate or you're volunteering at your association, serving a client, I should say, and or here, build the relationships because that alone is priceless. So thank you.
Thank you.
So the piece of advice I would give is to just like she said, find a committee that matches up with your passion, and be ready to be passionate about what it is you're doing. There's so much that the association can gain from your commitment, from your passion, and from what you have to offer. So definitely just do it. I don't know. Ever since I saw that question, that's all I've been thinking is just do it. Just come, join the committee, join the leadership team, and you're right. Time is an issue, but you're gonna find the time to do what you want to do. So that's why I think it's important that whatever committee you sign up for, it's a committee that you think that you're going to be willing to give your all to.
My piece of advice is make sure you have support from your family and your brokerage. So because this is a volunteer position and you are volunteering your time, you're also volunteering your time away from your business and away from your family. And without that added support, you're not going to make it. You just aren't. Your broker, the benefit of having a broker that is active with the board, they understand your time commitment and can provide the extra support to you if it's like with the transaction or just different things that you might have questions about. And then the flip side to that, if you have a partner, spouse, or your family, so I have a 2-year-old, and if it wasn't for the support of my fiance, I don't think I would have the time to do all of this if kid wasn't home with dad. So make sure you're involving your family and your brokerage when think of those two when you're making these decisions to join a committee.
Can I ask you a quick question before you move on? So interesting, you mentioned your child, right? Great kid. We've all seen it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
How comfortable have you been at MR meeting and bringing him here? Is this kind of like a family, like a second family with that?
So when I first got involved, I was told if you're here, your family. I'm like, okay, Olive Garden. And I have always thought of Missouri Realtors as my Missouri Realtor family because at the time, being a young new mom, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, we're going to figure it out. But I had so many other mentors and realtors around me that were like, you don't have to figure it out alone. Bring the baby. And I'm like, okay. Perfect example is St. Louis Realtor staff. Like, without them and their support, when Elliot's here, they like take him under his wing. They're like, you're good. We got him. We'll just hold your baby. And if y'all remember Debbie, uh, she was like, I'll just babysit while you're in a meeting. I was like, I don't need you to do that. She goes, nope. Then she like takes the stroller and she's like, we'll be back. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll see him afterwards. So it's just like having that support, it has been greatly beneficial to still be able to volunteer. And then who knows, maybe in like 17 years, Elliot will have a real estate license and he'll be in here and you guys can be like, I remember when. Yeah. So things to think about.
Thank you.
All good answers. One thing I would like to stress, though, is that the commitment is pretty much as you want it to be. Serving on a committee is really not going to take up much more than maybe an hour a month. So, you know, you are removed from your business for a small period of time, but the benefits of losing that hour, you know, and what you're doing for the rest of our community is astronomical. That being said, Kayla mentioned Missouri Realtors and Scott mentioned Missouri Realtors. Should you decide to get involved in the state association, it's a little bit more of a commitment because the state meetings are 3 days. You know, but I have to tell you though that I haven't missed a state meeting in 20 something years because the relationships that I have built up across the state have paid tenfold for the time that I've lost and the connections that I made and the referrals that I get from agents from around the state that I get to know. So my philosophy has always been you get what you give. And if you just give a little bit, you're going to get a lot more back.
Excellent, Mark. Thank you very much. And Mark, we'll start with you again. So next question, everybody, is did you encounter any surprises?
Oh, I had a big surprise. It wasn't a little surprise. The stroke of midnight, New Year's Day 2018, I became the president of St. Louis Realtors. Well, when I had applied and was elected to be president-elect and then incoming president, little did I know that the CEO at the time chose to take a position, and I don't blame him, with a much larger organization in Chicago. It was a great stepping stone for him, a step up for him. And I spent from January through September without a CEO. And you know, many times I felt like I was a deer in the headlights. Yeah. But you know, the bottom line is it all turned out. It couldn't have turned out better because myself and my executive committee hired Dan Sale, who started in September of that year, and we have never ever looked backwards. It was a surprise, but it turned out to be a good surprise.
The answer is yes, I did encounter some surprises. I did not realize how big advocacy is with St. Louis Realtors until you're sitting in one of those meetings and somebody comes in, it's like, well, this is what RPAC is. And I'm like, what? What is this? What is this acronym? Nobody explained it. They're just like, you got to participate. Do you have like $25? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, okay, I have $25. I'm like, I don't know what it's for, but okay. And just learning as you go about why advocacy is important in the real estate industry, why it's important to St. Louis Realtors. And I didn't expect to like it so much. And now here we are, and I serve as a federal political coordinator and get to go to Hill visits in Washington, D.C., go to the Capitol here in Jeff City. And now I'm like, oh, I can advocate. I can tell you guys why all these things matter and why we need land banks and different things. When if you asked me this 5 years ago, I'm been like, what is a land bank? What does that do? Oh, okay. I sell real estate and that's the thing. Cool. Yeah. But now I can sit and talk to people of importance and get legislation passed. And it's a lot more fun than you realize. It sounds nerdy, but it's really not. It's not that nerdy. It's okay. It's a little bit, but yeah, it's amazing.
So I had a couple of things surprise me. Um, One was Kayla and I actually were in the Leadership Academy together, and the COVID year, right? We were the COVID babies, and I I I had some expectations from the class, but what surprised me was how it exceeded my expectations and how well I think that that particular academy prepared its students for leadership roles here in the association. So that was something that was a surprise to me. Something else that is kind of surprising, but it really shouldn't be, is just the feeling of accomplishment that you get once you leave your meetings, once you leave the board meeting, once you leave your committee meeting. Uh, we do a lot of really nice stuff in the different committees, and it's just like some like community engagement, for example, is a really heartwarming committee that you go out, you help these people, and you're volunteering, and when you're done, there's just this feeling that's really difficult to describe, but it's just like very heartwarming. Um, my only other surprise is so we are a very unique, or we're a very unique set of people, um, in the fact that as we compete against each other, we also cooperate with each other. We have to. You know, if I got a buyer and you've got a seller. Our job is to bring those people together and get through a transaction. And if we compete against each other the whole way through, it's not going to work. It's not going to end well. So we cooperate. Now, we may be competing for that particular client, but once the two of us get together, it's um, it's very cooperative. And when we're in the meetings, when we're in a committee, you can feel that cooperation really, really have an impact on what we're trying to accomplish for the association and for our fellow realtors throughout the area. So,
Wow. um, One of the and surprises I may have, maybe a lot different than the others. This may be twofold on why one should get involved, in the association. And one of the committees I'm currently involved in is the inclusion committee, and we host a lot of Can You Talk seminars. And one recently we had was with the title company that kind of shared some of the restrictions that still exist on Indeeds today. Prime example, Webster Groves, when you think, certain colored populations can't live in certain areas. Some of those things are still prevalent and exist of today. So that was kind of a surprise considering we are 2024 for me. But I think again, that's twofold on encouraging you to get involved in your association, attend some of our seminars, because these are things that you can not only learn about, but things that you can also make an impact on changing. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So, Tyra, the next question for you and the panel would be, what is the time commitment? And I think Mark alluded a little bit to this, but what is the time commitment involved in being a volunteer for the association?
Yeah. So time is really, really important. Today I had mentally that we were supposed to be here at 9. So and Karen and I kind of chuckled a little bit because I'm like, I'm always on two wheels being a mom. of a young one, 6 years old, and also working full time and juggling, work life is really important to me. So I'm always trying to do a million things at the ninth hour to squeeze them all in before the deadline. But is very important because it can be, demanding as a realtor as well as in your personal life. So I like to think about it like my gym time. That's a meeting, that's an appointment, so between that hour, nothing is scheduled, doctors, kids, anything. That 1 hour is for me. And I look at my involvement with the association the same way. That time that I have allotted to be committed in my involvement in the association, nothing else gets scheduled, during that time. So if you set your schedule and your commitment, to be involved is something that you're passionate about, I think that that will be a challenge that you can overcome, I guess. I make it work for me.
Very good.
So the time commitment, um, I don't think is really a big deal because earlier I suggested you do something that you're passionate. Find a committee that is in line with your passion, and you'll find that you find the time. So if you're doing what you like to do, if you feel committed and feel like what you're doing is beneficial and helpful to other folks, then you're going to find the time to do it. Um, does it take some time? Yes. And depending on the committee, kind of depends on the time. Some committees you can get away with, an hour and a half, an hour, 2 hours a month. Some committees are a little more. Some last year, the committees I was on last year required a lot of time to get the things that we wanted to get accomplished. But we all found the time. We all did, we all chipped in and did our parts, and there was no issue. I mean, you're just busy. Busy folks know how to stay busy. So, and then
So Marcella has said it perfectly. You find the time. And if you're considering a leadership role or being on the executive committee, what I learned this year is that that time finds you. Um, right now, what the industry, what we have going on, post lawsuit, still lawsuit, being a part of the leadership team and making all these decisions to help benefit the board as a whole and all the members, that is a new level of time that I don't think everybody realizes. And once you're in that position, you got to make that mental shift that this is what comes first when you're in the room, when you're trying to help your fellow realtor. So yeah, at first you're like, oh, this is gonna be great. I am gonna do all these things, and then those things, they show up. They do. They come looking for you. And I wouldn't change any of it for the world. It's been so eye-opening. And you find that those meeting times expand when you're there. Yeah, so think about that.
What they said.
Okay, well, last question that we'll end on is what has been your biggest challenge through all of this?
Well, quite frankly, I've never looked at it as a challenge. Now, granted, I'm not in the same position, certainly as Kayla or Tyra. I was kind of a senior citizen when I first got involved with the association, so I didn't have young children at the time, and I understand that can be a big challenge, maybe the single biggest challenge. But quite frankly, I feel I've been blessed with being a member of this association. I have been proud to work for it, and I don't look at it as a challenge at all. I look at it as quite frankly, as a benefit to myself and my career.
So my biggest challenge is saying no. Um, once you get into positions, you're on these committees, you always get voluntold and then you start to get volunteered and they ask you a lot. And then you're like, yeah, I have time for this. I'm going to do this, 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 this. And then you look at your schedule for the month and you realize you made commitments to so many different people. And maybe it's okay. I'm speaking to myself here. Maybe it's okay to sometimes say, no, I can't fit that in. And that's all right. You can't do everything. And if you can do everything, tell me how you do it. I would love to know.
I think I'm with you. And because it's very difficult to say no. You know, sometimes it's just because you want to help and you want to, be there for people and be there for your fellow uh, agent and whatnot. And so, yeah, my biggest challenge is probably overcommitting. It's not, you find the time, you get it done, but then you look back, you're like, I could have. I could have stopped, right? I could have waited. But here's the problem with that. It's a double-edged sword because the whole reason they asked you was because they have confidence in you, because they want you there, they want you to help, they value your input, and you know that. And so you want to be there and you want to be heard and you want to help. And uh, so it's really probably for me more of an internal struggle, more so than anything is probably my biggest challenge is just within myself, uh, saying yes and then making sure that I'm there and I show up for what I've said yes to.
I have to agree, I think, with Mark and in some parts of the others, but I would say probably one of my biggest challenges being, a mom with a small child and working, full time would be just that work-life balance because really don't want to say it's a challenge as a problem solver. I figure it out, it's like I got to make it happen. It's just a matter of how, and just delegating if I have to, like, hey, you're gonna have to do this with the child today, or it's a matter for me. I figure it out to make it happen. So challenges for me become where I'm, trying to be a problem solver, so to speak.
Very good.
Mhm.
Well, I guess maybe what I've heard too is that everybody has value and everybody has something to add, right? Would you all agree to that?
Mhm.
Excellent. Well, listen, thank you all very much. Tyra, Marcellus, Kayla, Mark, thank you guys very, very much. Appreciate it. And we're going to turn it right back over to Dan.
Thank you for having us.
So they can hear you online.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you again to our fantastic panel members. So we covered what it means to serve as a volunteer leader, in particular to serve as a member of the board of directors. We heard about why you might want to do that. So now let's talk a little bit about how you can do that. And again, at the end of this presentation, we'll have a website address that you can go to and learn more. But I'm just going to cover a few items that will kind of help you understand the process. In order to serve as an officer, in particular president-elect or treasurer, there is a requirement that you serve at least 2 years on the board of directors. Now, how do you get on the board of directors? There's a requirement that you serve on at least 4 different committees. That could be 2 different committees 2 years in a row. It could be the same committee 4 years in a row. Just a combination of 4 years on a committee of some sort. If you're not sure if you've got the requisite experience, I believe you can log in to the member portal through Rapatoni to find out. If you're not sure how to do that, just pick up the phone and call me or one of the staff and we'll help you. Yeah, Kayla. The committee experience requirement does include Leadership Academy. So if you've gone through Leadership Academy, that qualifies as one of the 4 committees. Great question. Thank you. So in addition to officers and directors on the ballot this summer, we will have also on the ballot NAR director position. Typically, we have one at-large NAR director position available, and we expect the same to happen this year. In order to qualify as an NAR director, you must have served in some capacity within NAR governance. That's pretty loosely defined. It could be with a state or local association, or it could be with a NAR institute, society, or council. There's a written application that's required where you'll want to describe your involvement in the organization. They'll ask you to commit to supporting the mission of the organization, acknowledge that you'll fulfill the duties and responsibilities and abide by NAR policies. And most importantly, there are some performance expectations as an NAR director. For instance, you're expected to complete the Fairhaven virtual training course, the bias override course, the At Home with Diversity training course, and the Commitment to Excellence course. So there is a little bit of skin in the game in terms of preparation. So let's talk about the allocation for NAR director seats. Typically, we have 3 NAR director seats each year, and our bylaws provide that 2 of those go to our president and president-elect. And typically, it's that 3rd one that's available that we refer to as the at-large seat that is up for election. And we've had years where we've had maybe 1 candidate, and we've had years where we've had 3 or 4. It just depends. So the positions on the ballot this year, specifically for board of directors, we have 6 positions. Typically, we have at a minimum 4 3-year terms. Those are at large. This year, we've got those 4 3-year terms plus 2 additional partial terms. So we have an opening for a 2-year term and an opening for a 1-year term. And those were created by vacancies that occurred throughout the past year. Our treasurer position will be on the ballot as well, our president-elect position, and then the NAR director position we talked about. So we refer to this as the nomination and election process. It probably ought to say the self-nomination and election process. I want to emphasize that you don't need to be nominated by someone else. In fact, if you wait for that to happen, you'll probably never serve on the board of directors. So I just want to be clear about that. So if you have an interest, you need to nominate yourself. And for self-nomination, it's a fairly straightforward process. There is a candidate profile form that you're asked to complete, a 150-word personal statement, and that personal statement, along with your photo and your profile, will be posted on the website for members to view. No member can run for more than 1 position concurrently, so you couldn't run for local and NAR director at the same time. And also, no individual can serve on the board of directors if they're already serving on the board of directors of another realtor association, local realtor association. So the timeline is fairly straightforward. Nominations will open June 19th. They'll be open for about a 10-day period. About a 15-day period. Nominations will close at the end of the day, July 4th. These are all online. So even though we're closed that day, nominations will still be accepted through the end of the day. And after nominations close, there will be a brief period of time where all of the nominees will be reviewed to make sure that they meet the criteria for the position that they've applied for. And then all of the candidates will be announced. And July 22nd, which is a Monday this year, at 1 p.m., we'll have a candidate forum where all of the candidates will be invited to attend, and it'll give members an opportunity to learn about the candidates and cast an informed vote. July 31st, the election opens. August 21st, the election closes. And then we'll have our annual post-election event, also known as our annual meeting, on August 28th at Favaz's on the Hill. And that's open to all members, and there is no charge for that, but we do require advanced registration. I'm not going to cover the campaign process or rules around that. They're pretty basic, but they are on the website that I'm going to direct you to momentarily. And quite honestly, the campaign process and the rules regarding the campaign process have evolved over the years with the prevalence of social media and things of that nature. It's not quite the same as it used to be. So a couple more things about serving. It is important as a condition of serving as a director that individuals agree to participate in our annual director orientation, which tentatively is set for Friday, January 10th of 2025. There's also that's a half day. There's also a full day of professional standards training that is expected. Because as a member of the board of directors, remember we talked about how oftentimes we have panels formed from the board of directors. They entertain appeal hearings and things of that nature. They ratify hearing panel decisions. So they need to be informed about the process. And so on January 17th, tentatively, of 2025, we have our full day professional standards training. So there's an agreement to serve. Individuals are asked to complete to attest that they'll participate in these items. Also in that agreement to serve, they agree to the attendance requirements. They agree to adhere to the conflict of interest statement, the confidentiality clause, important things when you're serving on a board of directors. And one of the things that we will cover at the director orientation are the legal duties of directors. These are important, the duty of care. So when you're a director, you essentially agree to act in the best interest of the organization. You agree to be loyal to the organization and not put personal interests above that of the organization. And you agree to obedience, and that means that acting in accordance with the governing documents of the organization. So all of those things are legal duties of a director. Now, one last slide, not to end on a down note, but volunteer service, it's important to note, doesn't come entirely without risk, but there are some protections out there as a director. So one is the Volunteer Protection Act. It essentially provides that volunteers are not personally liable for their acts or omissions if they're acting within the scope of their responsibility. Now, it doesn't mean members would necessarily be immune from a lawsuit. That can certainly happen, but the organization does indemnify its officers, directors, and committee members. And we do carry errors and omissions insurance. So with that, up on the screen is a QR code that will take you to our website where you can learn about all of this great information, not only the positions that are available, the duties, a lot of the policies and procedures we covered earlier are on this website. And most importantly, this is where individuals will go to submit their nomination when they open June 19th. So with that, I expect a floodgate of nominees when the website opens, and look forward to a whole new group of volunteer leaders. And if anyone has any questions about the process, again, please feel free to reach out to Scott as the chair of the Board Development and Leadership Committee, any of the members of that committee, myself, or any of the volunteer leaders of the organization. And with that, thank you all for coming today, and thank you for your time.